The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw review.
And hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max Monday Night Raw review. My name is Brandon Biskobing. I will be your host for tonight in lieu of Gary Vaughn, who is still absent with some family issues. Hope to see you next week, Gary. Miss you. Hope to see you soon. Be sure to be ready to come back next week. Hopefully, but whenever you're ready, come on back. Joining me tonight is Liz Pugliese. Liz, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. We are here to talk about Monday Night Raw, and the show starts off with a recap of the Greatest Royal Rumble, which really wasn't the Greatest Royal Rumble ever, but moving on. We can make a whole show about how terrible that was.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns makes... What? Continue.
I was gonna say probably two shows we could fill without.
Pretty much. Pretty much. We get Roman Reigns making his entrance with a plethora of boos. This is Montreal, so of course they've got to make a, subtle but not so subtle reference to the Montreal Screwjob, making everyone feel a little inferior and making everyone feel like idiots just because we disagree with their pre-programmed BS. It's basically like every Raw After Mania show where it's like, oh, because all these fans are so smarky, we're gonna talk about them as though they're idiots. Give me a break. We see through your BS, WWE. Shut up. I'm surprised we didn't get a reference to the Montreal Screwjob tonight, honestly.
Yeah, they do tend to usually say it whenever they're in Canada.
Especially because they're actually in Montreal tonight.
In Montreal, yeah.
Watch, we'll get one tomorrow now that we're mentioning it.
We're jinxing it.
Yep, pretty much. Like how I jinx it. I hate to say it because it's gonna happen now soon enough. But just how I mentioned she who shall not be named on this program last week. So we get Roman Reigns coming out, making his entrance, and commentary is talking about the controversy that ended that match between him and Brock Lesnar on Friday at the Greatest Royal Rumble, which they tried to blow over, and they tried to say that Reigns actually put his feet down first. But I honestly did see that Reigns had his foot on the apron for most of that. So, I mean, it is what it is, but, we'll see where they go from here. He said, Reigns says he's not going to make any excuses. That, Chad Patton, who was the referee for the match, said that he made a mistake. But, the decision still stands, and Brock is still your Universal Champion, but Reigns basically says he can claim he's the Universal Champion all he wants, but I'm the real Universal Champion right now, which I'll agree with right now. But we'll see how they go from here. And then Samoa Joe comes up on the Titantron, says that Reigns told him he was that he told him that he was losing to Brock, and that he did in fact lose, and he's gonna continue the downward spiral and finish off Roman at Backlash. Then Jinder Mahal comes out and says that he can't stand people making excuses for their shortcomings. He's man enough to well, no, he's not complaining about losing to Jeff Hardy, and then he says that, he got screwed at Greatest Royal Rumble, yada, 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 and that he's gonna beat Roman Reigns tonight. Then Sami Zayn comes out and does a lot of French talking because they're in Montreal, playing up to the crowd, and says he wants to face Roman Reigns, and then he mentions that he couldn't show up to the Greatest Royal Rumble because he was injured by Bobby Lashley, which all of us who are in the know that's a little BS, but, it is what it is. I'm okay with the reason. I'm okay with the real reason why he didn't go, and I'm okay with Sammy. So, moving on. And then, come on, Liz. Please tell me that you saw this coming. As soon as Sammy came out and he started talking about, how he was the one that wanted to face Roman, how long were you waiting until you started the countdown for Kevin to come out?
About 2 seconds.
I said it. As soon as he started talking, especially when he started talking in French and playing up to the crowd, I was like, oh, just watch. Kevin's going to come out next. I'm calling it right now. And sure enough, he does. Enter Kevin Owens. He also gets the hero's welcome. He talks a little French. And he says, the fans really want to see him against Roman Reigns tonight. And he does a whole popularity contest, which he clearly won, hands down. He did.
Completely. There was... couldn't even say it was close.
Yeah. I know this is only a purely Montreal type of thing that they're gonna do, but I would love to see a face turn for both Kevin and Sammy. Wishful thinking, I know, but this just showed how good they could be as faces if they actually put the effort into it.
I know.
Just as how good Seth has been as a face.
I know, but Sammy is so good with his smarminess, that he
But
has
you can
going
still
on
keep that while keeping him endearing.
You totally can. I agree.
You could totally do it with both of them and have them just be basically be the cocky, Rock / Stone Cold type characters, but still be faces because everyone loves them. But, that's talk for another day. I'm sure we'll talk more about how Kevin and Sammy are being used horribly in the next coming weeks. We'll get to that later. But, then after the crowd boisterously responds to Kevin Owens saying, let's have a popularity contest, and saying KO should be facing Roman tonight. Then, all of a sudden, Roman attacks all three of them. Bobby Lashley comes out and makes the save after a little while. And after Bobby came out, this is another one where it was how long did you wait before you started the countdown? Because as soon as Bobby came out, I turned to Tori and I was like, watch. I started the countdown. I was like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Braun.
No, I assumed it as well. But part of me is if this is such an odd 6 people, obviously Kevin and Sammy, go together. I was surprised when Jinder came out to confront Roman.
Well, he was the first one that came out. So
yeah, but I was like, well, you know what? Okay, this is different. I can get behind this because they're giving us something different. Then they gave us something really crazy.
Well, see, in a traditional WWE sense, it makes sense, but especially with how they were handling Kevin and Sammy in their promos, with them being in Montreal, it was this is a weird heel combination. Jinder, who no one likes, And then Kevin and Sammy, who most fans do like, even outside of Canada.
Right. Well, Jinder's also Canadian, so I figured that's why he might have been thrown in there.
Yeah, but, they didn't try to play... I mean, I get that most Sparks would know that, but, like, they didn't try to play it up nearly as much as they did with Kevin and Sammy.
Yeah, no, I don't think they would either.
But, sure enough, as you said, as soon as they all started attacking, I was like, oh, this is leading to the main event, which is going... Well, it didn't end up being the main event, but, I figured it was going to be the main event at the time. But this is leading to a 6-man tag match, and sure enough, it did. Then we go to a break. They come back and say, hey, yeah, you were all right because you all know how this works. We're getting a 6-man tag match play.
And it was very predictable.
that whole segment, like the funny thing, and let's talk about this segment real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The first half of this segment with Roman and Jinder was actually kind of interesting. Well, Roman, Jinder, and Sam, like the first part of Sammy's thing.
Right.
Was kind of interesting because it was like, oh, who's Roman gonna face tonight one-on-one? And I would have been okay with either Sammy or Kevin facing him one-on-one because they're in Montreal, have a hometown pop facing off against the WWE face, but no one else's face, Roman Reigns. If you just left it purely at that and had the fans choose for you, say, Kevin Owens is going to face Roman Reigns one-on-one tonight in the main event, I would have been perfectly fine with that. But then as soon as, you expected Kevin and Sammy to do their whole back and forth because they're in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
But then as soon as Roman started attacking and then Bobby jumped in, you were like, oh God, I know exactly where this is going.
Yeah, and for me, it's I don't get maybe I'm missing something, but I don't get the whole Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman,
It's only because they had that whole tag match last week.
No, I know, but even that was like, okay, that's random. I mean, they're always random.
Okay.
It just seems odd to me.
Let me explain it to you. Let me explain it to you in a very simple way, in a very, very simple term. This is Raw, the land of the mismatched tag teams.
I was just going to say that.
Think about it.
A habit of just like, oh, well, we don't know what to do with them, so let's put them in a tag match and see what happens.
Granted, this trend started a year and a half ago on SmackDown, but all of the mismatched tag teams have moved to Raw lately.
Mm-hmm.
Heath Slater and Rhino started it all. But then we got Sheamus and Cesaro. Heath Slater... Well, no, I said Heath Slater and Rhino. We got... I'm trying to think. I know there's one I'm missing right now. Well, right now we've got Bray and... Bray and Hardy, but that at least makes sense a little bit.
Yeah, but they've done it, a few times. It's just, but this one just really, really screams, okay, well, we have to keep Braun out there, and we have to make a big deal of Bobby. Okay, so we'll just put them together and see what happens,
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's definitely them saying, we don't want to push them too hard because we're still so high on Roman, but, we still need to keep them strong.
Right.
Yeah, so this segment was interesting, to say the least. So then we come back, and, we see Elias in the ring playing us a song, doing his usual thing. He talks about eliminating Kurt in the Greatest Royal Rumble, and starts a good song. I liked his song tonight. It was funny. And then Bobby cuts him off. I was disappointed. And we have to go into break again after about 5 minutes. Half hour yet to a match.
Yeah, their breaks are out of control.
Yes. So, finally, our opening contest scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
I'm not going to forget this week.
I know.
Bobby Roode versus Elias. It was a solid match. Nothing too crazy. But, Elias is attacking Bobby's neck for the whole match, and then it finally ends with Bobby writhing on the ground at ringside and them calling the match due to Bobby not being able to continue. Honestly, I was surprised that this did not continue, or I'm surprised that this was not either saved for Backlash, or, they did something where Bobby won to set up a match for Backlash, so I honestly don't really know where they can go from here. But, what did you think of this match?
Were they announced for Backlash yet? Or will they use this throat injury to set it up? Like, he wants his revenge or whatever.
I mean, I guess that's the only way you could think about it. That's the best way to figure out a way to get them on Backlash.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match. It was a pretty, solid match. They were given a decent amount of time to, tell a bit of a story, and I think this was actually one of the, for me, I think it was actually one of the more enjoyable matches we've seen Bobby in a while. I thought they worked, well together, and some really nice aggressiveness on the part of Elias. It was a all around solid match. I thought they did a really good job.
It was a good match. It was a good match in the sense that it really showed how Elias was focused on one body part, and
right.
his ruthlessness and all of that. It was more so focused on Elias more than anything.
Right.
So, while I'm not 100% sure, I have a feeling we'll get some sort of announcement later on this week with a rematch of potentially, I would think, especially after what happened tonight, I would think and hope that we're going to get some sort of stipulation match for this match at Backlash. So, coming back, we get Authors of Pain coming out and actually talking on the mics. And not doing a terrible job, but, again, I've already made my case on this. I have a bad feeling about them without Paul Ellering. I understand the reason why, but, we'll see where they go as they continue. Then we get a couple of jobbers. Apparently they're from Chikara, based on the review I'm reading.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were talking in French. They say they're proud French Canadians and they'll never back down from a challenge. And hey, guess what? Guess what happens to them? 3, 2, 1, squash.
Oh, yeah, big time.
That's pretty much how long the match took.
Yeah, it was super quick. I mean, major props to them for getting to, speak on Raw. I think they actually spoke better than the Authors of Pain.
Hey, maybe their speaking will actually get them a bit of a push, a la James Ellsworth.
Yeah, maybe. There's really not much you can say about the match. It was exactly what it was supposed to do. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of this a la the Bludgeon Brothers on SmackDown.
Definitely.
Months of them just squashing people. I hate their gear. I'm tired of
their gear.
SWAT look. I mean, yeah, but it's like more SWAT looking gear. I mean, come on.
I
They could
get it, but at least they're not like, I'm okay with it at least for now. Then after the match they talk about the Book of Pain and they say it remains open and we're adding another chapter for each team on Monday Night Raw, which I hope is the case. But again, I've already made my point before. But without Ellering, I think they're until they prove me wrong and they prove to me that they can have charisma on their own and talking on their own, yeah, they're gonna be Revival 2.0.
Yeah, I'm not, as I say every week, and everybody should know by now, I don't really watch NXT, but they haven't done. I mean, a lot of people are raving about them.
You
They
may be
wanting their call up.
You may be a better person to talk to in terms of these call ups than because you are kind of that outsider perspective of seeing them purely on the main roster.
Right. I've mentioned it before. For me, I mean, I'm 42 years old. I've been watching this for way longer than I probably should, even admit. But for me, being able to speak is, as important as, your ring work. So if you can't grab me with your mic work, I'm probably not going to pay, too much attention to you, right away. You really have to win me over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only been like 2-3 weeks, so they have time. But
they definitely do have time.
But it's a little bit lackluster.
Let me ask you this, especially with how long you've been watching. Would the fact, if he would have stayed around, I understand the reason why he didn't. But if Paul would have stayed around, would that have influenced your perception of them?
As a person who grew up watching, the Road Warriors, probably.
Exactly.
Because he's the one because when he first came out, I was like, oh my God. To be honest, God forgive me, I was like, oh my God, he's still alive. I honestly thought he had passed away, so forgive me. I don't want to jinx the poor man. So yeah, no, that definitely, grabs me and made me, pay attention.
That's exactly what I was thinking too when I mentioned back when they first debuted on Raw and then they decided to kick him to the curb. I mentioned it to Gary when we were on this podcast. I said, they're going to rue the day that they did this. I understand the reason why, because Paul does not want to travel anymore. But it's going to kill Authors of Pain because what's the word I'm looking for? That legitimacy that they got by having Paul with them is suddenly knocked off automatically.
Right.
To the vast majority of the casual or non-NXT watching fan base, because that anchor that they had and that that guy that said, hey, they're the real deal because they have Paul Ellering, that's gone.
Yeah, because for weeks leading up to Mania, everybody I know was like, oh, we want Authors of Pain. We want Authors of Pain. I can't believe Authors of Pain wasn't at the Rumble. I can't believe Authors of Pain was whatever.
And you were wondering why.
Hype, just from friends. So I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And then it was like, this is what everybody was. And I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying that they're not talented in the ring, But it was kind of like, oh, it didn't have that.
But when they came out with Ellering originally, what was your reaction? When they came out originally with Ellering, I was like, oh. I thought, like I said, it's like, I thought he was dead. But then I was like, oh, I was like, oh my God, so I was really into it, but they didn't really capture me with their in-ring work, at first. I'm not saying, that they were horrible, but I was questioning, to me, all the hype, and maybe I'm a harsh critic. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
cranky old woman, which is probably true. But yeah.
Well, hey, I'm get ready for the backlash that they're gonna get when my first true champion. When my first true champion's reign gets broken in a couple of weeks.
But yeah, I think if
I mean, yeah, that's dating me and not in a good way.
But probably wrongly on my part. I think I would probably still be giving them a little bit more attention if they had Ella Ring.
Exactly. So that was my point all along. So like I said, we'll see where they go. I'm hoping that it's I'm hoping that I'm wrong, but I've been saying for months, if not a year now. I think I've been saying this for a year now, pretty much ever since Enzo and Cass broke up. Do not call any more NXT tag teams up to the main roster until Vince McMahon is either A, dead, or B, out of the picture. Because they will not be used properly on the main roster. Simple as that. Done deal. Authors of Pain, you have the chance to prove me wrong. Don't fail me now. That is all.
What's next?
So, next we get more Greatest Royal Rumble hype. Seth comes out. He, puts the crowd over and gets a huge pop. We all see how popular face Rollins is, and this is what a true face should be getting. Vince McMahon, pay attention. Even in Canada, and I kind of saw this coming already, especially when he was saying, hey, I defended the Intercontinental in South Africa, then in Saudi Arabia. I've defended the Intercontinental Championship all over the world. Why not Canada? And he even says, this is what I want a champion to be like. I don't want to be like Brock Lesnar, where I'm not defending it every week. And he even takes a shot at Lesnar, saying he's not even the legitimate Universal Champion. And he says he wants to be a fighting champion. And of course, Finn Balor, who, just barely lost the title at Greatest Royal Rumble, being within a hand length of the title in that ladder match, comes out and he introduces himself in French. Nice job, Finn. And then he says, hey, you won the match, but I came very close. I deserve that rematch, or I deserve a match for the title. And Rollins is about to say yes, but of course he has to be interrupted by the Miztourage. They say we're not we should have come we made a mistake. We shouldn't have come to you separately. We should have come to you together. And they've got these weird shirts with all four of them on them. That was terrible. And Rollins says, that's going to be a hard no. And Finn does the same thing as he did last week, which still got me this week as much as it did last week, with pushing their hands down no.
Yeah.
And they decide to try to attack, and Finn and Seth beat him back. And then Finn is like, oh, wait, I still want that match, so I'm going to hit 1918 on you.
Yeah.
Screw you, Seth. What do you think of this? I liked it a lot.
I did. I mean, Seth got a great reaction. Seth was, really, really on, in the beginning, well, for the whole thing. But we got our wish from last week that the Miztourage continued, their quest, even though it was the same two that they were going after. So, I enjoyed that. we've all seen or expected the Fit Baylor Rollins feud to be sooner to be coming, which is only really a win for the fans because it's gonna be. I mean, we'll get to that match later, but it was pretty great.
We'll talk about that more later, but I'm hoping we get more.
Yeah, totally. The whole segment was really entertaining.
Oh, yes. So then we get some hype on them making fun of Titus O'Neil at his own expense. And then Ruby Riott and Sasha Banks are going to be following up. Sasha says, unfortunately, Bayley won't be in her corner, and she doesn't know what's going on. I call a little BS on that. You should know what's going on by now, Sasha. So technically the third match, but only the second true match scheduled for One Fall.
One Fall
sees Ruby Riott facing Sasha Banks. And it was a pretty solid match. Riott gets the win. But Sasha didn't put on a bad performance. Obviously we got a little interference from the Riott Squad. That was pretty much the deciding factor in this match. What do you think of this match?
Yeah, it was a solid match. I thought, I'm not really a big fan of, Sasha the wrestler. I don't obviously know Sasha the person. So I can usually give or take when she's on, but I enjoyed her backstage segments, and I enjoyed the match. It's probably actually one of the first times in a while I've enjoyed a match with either Ruby, and I'm not, knocking either one. Just I think, I'm tired of the whole Sasha Bayley thing, and stupid to me. And Ruby, the Riott Squad. I'm hoping their move to Raw really, works for them because they were kind of, pushed down for the whole Charlotte thing, on SmackDown. But it was a pretty solid match. It's probably the first women's match in a while that I really gave my full attention to. So that's saying something.
I think it will. I think they are kind of doing the long. They're doing the long lead for the Sasha and Bayley feud. They're doing the long feud for them, which I'm okay with. I'm just hoping that they finish it at some point, at least relatively soon. But I have a feeling that we're probably going to go, especially considering that this is where it all culminated in NXT. I have a feeling that this is going to end at Brooklyn. That it's going to end where it kind of all began. So we're going to have to wait until August to get the culmination of this.
Oh, God. Why do you say such awful things?
I'm just saying. I'm just speaking truths.
I know. It's still awful.
I know this. It's just like how there are a plethora of multi-man matches.
I know. They hate me.
I just speak truths here. Nothing else.
I know.
Nothing more, nothing less.
I know you mean no harm.
But yeah, so prepare for about 5 more months of Sasha Bayley.
Thankfully, I won't be reviewing Raw.
Yeah, you won't have to worry about reviewing Raw for maybe another week or so.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to beg Gary to get back for you.
Yeah, right. Don't make me talk about it.
Don't make me talk about Sasha and Bayley any more than I have to. But, like you said, I'm hoping the Riott Squad, while I hate the fact that they had to put that extra T on their names.
Oh, yeah, that was just... even for them, that was dumb.
I get why, but really, Vince? Really? 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 So yeah, but like I said, I'm hoping Riot Squad gets a good push. Because I mean, I don't like the other two. I don't like her lackeys so much, but I've liked Ruby ever since she was in NXT.
Yeah, Ruby's definitely my favorite of the three.
Oh yes. So we get another one of those. Oh god, a full moment of bliss PSAs.
Yeah, but this one I have to tell you, I was laughing. I really enjoyed
Some of it
this
was laughable just because of how ridiculous it sounded.
Yeah, I know, but her delivery was.
Oh yes. Oh, I'll agree with you. I mean, I was I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the air, but Tori wants to train to be a pro wrestler soon. But I was talking to her and we were talking about like some of her like when she gets in like some of her gimmicks, and I was like, I would like if she were like a Bailey type face, or like if she started out as a Bailey type face and then turned heel, I would write in like some of these promos where she acted like she was face and then completely turn around and was like, oh wait, never mind, screw you all.
Yeah.
Like how Alexa has been doing over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, she's been doing good. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that Alexa irritates me to no end. She is basically the female version of Miz to me. But just looking at it purely off of an objective view, yeah, she's been doing well lately.
Do you follow them on Instagram? Especially,
no, I think Tori does.
So if you did, you probably would have laughed even more because Naya, like, is an Instagram junkie. She Instagram stories
I saw your post on the group saying that, like, she posted her side plates.
Yeah, so she stories everything. So they did actually, a few months ago before this all started, like, go to Disney. And some of this stuff that,
that she was using was actually legit.
Yeah, it was actually legit. Like she was constantly going live or posting videos, from IG, like making fun of Alexa or showing their time in Disney. So it wasn't like she referenced, like we went to Disney. Like fans saw them in Disney,
See,
so that
that
gave me a laugh.
The funny thing about this, though, especially with one of the things she mentioned on this promo, is that it's probably actually it's actually something that legitimately happened with her being asked if she was tall enough to ride this, because I think she is legit only 5 foot, right?
Yeah, 5 feet of fury.
I know the pain from when I was younger. Like, even when I was, 16, I was only, 4'9", 5 feet. I'm only 5'4" now. So, I still had to get, heighted for going on some of those bigger rides. So, I can totally feel her pain there.
Yeah, that's just why it got to me, why I really enjoyed it, because it's like I'd seen all the videos and all the photos, that they were posting from Disney, and you could see it happening.
So yeah, I mean, it was good. It was definitely better than it was last week, but I have a feeling that this will end next week because Jax will squash her again, and then she'll move on to someone else. But we'll see where that goes. Moving on, we get the official announcement that the Seth versus Balor match has been made official. Titus is interviewed about Greatest Royal Rumble, says, he loves it when a plan comes together, and, oh wait, never mind. But not many people get an opportunity to fall flat on their face in front of the entire world. And what is important is that you don't stay down, you get right back up, and he hopes that he'll inspire people. And Baron Corbin comes in and says, "Really? Seriously? You really think you're an inspiration for falling flat on your face?" And ask why they're wasting time with him at all. And then we get Matt Hardy talking about his woken whatever you want to call it, woken wisdom. Okay, it's not broken brilliance anymore. It's woken wisdom. And he says his favorite nonfiction story of all time, The Light in the Darkness. And that their story has always been told, no matter what vessel they've been in. Bray and Matt have always transcended time and space. They were there at the beginning, and it was great. I'll admit, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast at all. I think I have when they've done these woken Matt moments. But I am a huge history buff, so I loved all the old pictures they did with them crossing the Delaware and them on the moon landing, and
Yeah, that was fabulous.
Like, all of these were just great, and them like saying the vessels cannot be contained on this planet or in this time alone.
Yeah, it's the great little details.
Oh yes, it's the details. The details. Or, the best for me, at least in his WWE run, was when he was talking to the horse as Napoleon.
Oh, God.
Or no, it wasn't a horse, it was a giraffe. Excuse me. And then the room darkens, Bray comes out and says, everything is their shadow, and they will continue to consume everything, and hey, they actually get it right. Michael Cole, just stop talking. It is plural. It is the deleters of worlds. Plural. Get it right. I mentioned this last week.
I know, I was just going to say that. We were going about it last week.
So yes, get it right, Michael Cole. It's plural. It's the deleters of worlds. Then we get a recap on Mickie James. Well, first off, what do you think of this segment?
Yeah, we seem to have a really lot of segments tonight. Or maybe it was just me.
Well, a lot of them just kind of felt like, they weren't really that big.
Thought out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. There's just like a lot of little quick things in a sense. This one, I actually sometimes I didn't watch Impact, so I didn't really see the whole broken thing. Obviously, I knew about it and I saw bits and pieces. Yeah, but I've been enjoying it. But this one's been my favorite in a while. I loved all the little historical pieces and the attention to detail. It was good.
It was the details. The details. Let's go back real quick. What do you think of the Titus and Corbin thing? Because we didn't mention that.
Was there something last week with Titus and Corbin?
No. That was Corbin and No Way Jose.
Okay.
Which we'll get to.
Yeah, which we'll get to. Yeah, no, it was... I'm glad they let Titus address it, because there was, of course, that risk, even though they would keep, posting about it, that they would just let it... Well, I'm not even going to say slide, which I just...
I think we already knew that with how much they were posting about it, they were not going to let it slide.
I'm glad he got to talk, and I'm glad that they didn't make him, make a fool out of himself, over it. They had some fun with it a little later on. But, no, it was good. I liked Corbin, popping in. It was very unexpected to have Corbin pop in.
Completely random thought right now, but this is something that I thought about when this segment was going on, and I mentioned this to Tori. It would be so hilarious once a certain lunatic superstar was back to being healthy, that the way they reintroduced him was by Renee saying, "Please welcome my guest at this time and my husband, Dean Ambrose."
Mm-hmm.
Like, could you just imagine the hilarity of that?
I think they get so much hate for some reason. I think it would be epic. I think it would be fabulous.
It would be hilarious because they've already referenced it on TV with Miz.
Right. Yeah, no, several times, they've mentioned it. I think it would be great.
Oh, yes, it would be great.
Soon.
I hope he gets back soon as well. So the next match scheduled for One Fall is a 6-man tag match between Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, and Roman Reigns, and Jinder Mahal, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. I think we all know where this is going.
Yeah, it had Braun, so we knew who was, gonna win.
Wait for it.
Mm-hmm.
Braun!
Yeah, it was pretty decent. It had some, really good, really good spots. I had to wander away from the TV in the middle of it, so I'm not gonna lie, I did miss.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch the full match.
It was a little. It was. I don't want to say it was overly long. It wasn't. I mean, but it was decent. It was your typical 6-man, sometimes hot mess of a hot mess of a match.
I mean, for those of us who follow New Japan on a regular basis, we know what these 6-man matches become.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was a solid 6-man match. Yeah, nothing crazy, but we got all the good spots. Honestly, I'm surprised that they didn't stick. I mean, there really isn't anyone distinctive that they could have used it for, but I'm surprised they didn't stick someone else that could have worked for the Canadian crowd with Sami and Kevin as a way to, get the heels a little bit of momentum going into Backlash, while at the same time giving the Canadian crowd a pop. But we'll see how that goes moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. Yeah, I mean, Jinder, as we said earlier, is actually, Canadian, but they don't bill him as such.
Yeah.
So, I can't really...
I'm honestly surprised I mean, I guess because they're still trying to give Jinder a bit of a push, so they don't want to ruin it by saying that. But, I'm surprised they didn't do it right now and just give the heels the win just for that reason alone. But
yeah, I expected Corey to say something.
Yeah.
Exactly,
like Corey be like, "Oh, he's not really Indian, he's Canadian."
Ginger lived here, or something like that.
Exactly. But, I mean, this is WWE we're talking about. They don't exactly adhere to logic.
Yeah, no, they definitely don't. They don't have any logic.
No. There was one moment, I think there was a moment on this episode that I was like, oh, that's not right. No. I was talking to Tori about last week with the whole, Drew McIntyre and, Dolph Ziggler thing, where Dolph was like, I've never had anyone, have my back and be at my side in all my time in WWE, and I think it was either on SmackDown or I think it was on NXT. I was talking about this with Harry, and I was like, "That's a load of BS." Go back to 2011, and there is a certain someone that I do not want to say her name again, but we all know who we're talking about. And
that was with me.
Oh, that was with you on. Okay, that was with you on
Yeah,
Raw last week.
because
Okay.
I didn't know who you were talking
Yes,
about.
you could
Like
not
last week
figure out who I was talking about until I had to say it and watch. In a couple of weeks, we're gonna have to deal with her ass. Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome.
But like, I mentioned Satori. I'm like, in a couple of weeks, we're gonna have to deal with how Lesnar is gonna be claimed to be the longest reigning world champion of all time.
Please.
Yeah, be prepared.
Yeah, I saw something about that online today.
Oh yeah, so did I. So coming out next, we get Baron Corbin coming out. It says a wise man once said that to make money you can't be funny, and runs down guys that just want to entertain, like Titus O'Neil, and says that No Way Jose is just like that, and he just cares about his shenanigans and dancing and all of this. And he's a prize fighter. He doesn't care about making the crowd cheer or laugh or anything. He just wants to win. And we actually get the match between these two, scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
Between Baron Corbin and No Way Jose that we were supposed to get last week. That I predicted that we were going to get this week. And we did. And this does not end cleanly, so I have a feeling this is not the end of this. Titus Worldwide comes out mid-match. All three of them. Titus O'Neil gets on the apron and then falls, and Baron Corbin just looks at him and starts laughing, but we all know with distraction comes opportunity, and Titus O'Neil rolls him up for the 1, 2, 3. And No Way Jose has a win. Oh my god. This is the only way that No Way Jose will get a win against Baron Corbin on the main roster, and we all know it.
Yeah, he's another one. I mean, we talked about him a bit, last week. He's another one that, had, all the hype, and I'm still kind of on the fence about, because I can't stand his somewhat recycled, idea.
Like I said last week, if you see him more and they don't just purely have him do the same shtick over and over and over again, he will grow on you like how Elias did.
Yeah. No, but I definitely can enjoy his, his in-ring work. Definitely.
But the issue is going to be making him a legitimate threat while at the same time still having him be this fun-loving dancing gimmick. That's going to be the big issue because and making it not only in the the best way to do it honestly is to give him a clean win against someone like Corbin. Or I'm trying to think if there's really any other big guys that you could give him a win against. But because everyone who has seen him in NXT, even those who have loved him in NXT, like myself, as soon as they said that he was facing Baron Corbin, I was just like, oh god, squash. I called it. I said that was going to be a squash last week. Granted, it didn't happen. Right. And like I said, the only way that he could get a win against Baron Corbin in Vince McMahon's world is by a roll-up. So until they prove me wrong, while I still will forever be a No Way Jose fan, I am very skeptical on him until they prove me wrong.
Right. I agree.
So, yeah. We'll see on that. The next match scheduled for one fall is the first and only women's match of the night. between Mickie James and Natalya with Alexa Bliss and Ronda Rousey. The rowdy Ronda Rousey. I'm
It's not
sorry.
the first and only women's match. We just talked about one.
Did we have a women's match?
Sasha?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Long
It's
night.
late.
Long night.
It's late.
Second women's match
Mhm.
between Mickie James and Natalya with Alexa Bliss and rowdy Ronda Rousey. I'm sorry. I can't talk like Bruce Buffer.
Who needs to work on her facial expressions?
I mean, she needs to work on a lot of things outside of the ring. In the ring, she's fine. Outside the ring, not so much.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that point. Nothing too spectacular in this match. The funniest part of this was Rousey chasing Bliss off and having her run like a scared little puppy.
I know, that was entertaining.
Oh, quite. Especially when you hate Bliss as much as I do.
Yeah, I don't hate her, but I still found it entertaining.
Oh, yes, quite. Natalya wins with a pinfall, with a roll-up. And solid match. Any thoughts on this?
Other than, it was nice to see Natalya get a nice win for once. No, not really. It was a decent match. It had a couple of moments with, Ronda running with Alexa, with Nia coming out. It served its purpose, let's say.
Have we officially gotten an announcement for Backlash on this?
No, I don't think so.
But I have a feeling it's coming. Tag team match player between Rousey and Natalya versus Mickie James and... Wait, never mind. Excuse me. Alexa Bliss still has to face Nia Jax. So we'll have to wait on that until Extreme Rules. Or whatever the next pay-per-view is. I think it's Extreme Rules.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's after Backlash.
But yeah, whatever the next pay-per-view will probably be them. After that, we get a Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre promo.
Which I missed. I'm so upset.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Drew does basically mentions the same thing as he did last week. He says when he speaks, it feels different because he actually means it, and he's actually ambitious instead of most of the other superstars who are coasting happily, just happy to be here. Whereas Dolph and Drew actually say they deserve to be here and they want to get to the top. You know what's kind of ironic? And I hope they actually use this as a little bit of a, I don't know who he could really tag with, but, even just doing it as a one-on-one squash match, I'd be perfectly fine with. But did you see on Twitter earlier, I think it was yesterday, apparently someone on Twitter lambasted Mike Kanellis about how he was kind of coasting and didn't really care about his placement. He only cared about, the money he was making and yada, yada, yada. And he basically said, yeah, you're right. Could I be more ambitious? Yes, but, I'm in a good place in my life, and that's all that matters.
I didn't see that. I'll have to go look it up.
Yeah, he basically, and even, actually, now that I think about it, the person that they could have him tag with is Titus, because Titus even agreed with him. Basically have Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre versus Titus O'Neil and Mike Kanellis, and just have Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler completely squash them. And kind of show that, hey, you guys need to have a little bit more ambition. Because that's the biggest problem in WWE right now. Because, I mean, even Gallows and Anderson have said it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of these older guys, with the exception of AJ Styles, he's the only one that I can really say isn't in this mold. But a lot of the older top indie guys who have come into the WWE have come in knowing that, like, hey, I don't care where I am in WWE. I've already made my name in the indies.
Mm-hmm.
I can live off of that. I'm just here to make money.
Right. I think we discussed this a little bit last week, and partially, you could see it. I mean, look at Heath Slater. I mean,
well, Heath's a little bit of a different story.
Well, no, but yes and no. I mean, obviously, he's not the same. He didn't just come from the Indies, and blah blah blah, and all that. But come on, I mean, the man hasn't had it. And Heath Slater, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel. You could make that argument for a lot of them. They are put through like some ridiculous stuff, but.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I'll agree with that. But see, I feel like there's a different. I mean, there is a thing to it. Actually, that's actually the Curtis Axel example is a better example, and mm-hmm. Bo Dallas to a lesser extent because he does technically have a lineage.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, so does Curtis Axel.
No, I said Curtis Axel is a better example.
Okay.
But look at Cody Rhodes. He was a joke for, 6-7 years in WWE?
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, you know what? Screw this. I don't care. I want to actually make a name for myself. I don't care about the money. I want to make a name for myself. I want to be Cody Rhodes. Screw you guys. I'm going to the Indies. And look at what he's become. He's become one of the top guys in the Indies. And a lot of fans, myself included, while I don't like his character arc right now, currently, within Bullet Club, he has become much more of. I have become much more of a fan of him now as the American Nightmare than I ever did with any of his ridiculous gimmicks in WWE.
Right, but you know what? Cody was, lucky. I mean, Cody had a lot of talent. Cody has the lineage, and everything, behind him.
But that's what I'm saying. A guy
it doesn't mean that it would work for everybody else.
But that's what I'm saying. A guy like Curtis Axel could easily go into, Ring of Honor, and they would say, hey, they may not give him quite as big of a push as Cody got, but they would give him enough of a push and put him in a position, put him in a faction like the Bullet Club where he can sell merch and he could make some decent money off of it. And I feel like WWE is basically trying to curb that trend by just throwing money at these guys and, basically holding guys hostage. And, it doesn't bode well for their storyline progression moving forward beyond where they are right now.
Yeah. I don't really see them holding anybody, hostage. But, like I said last week, to each their own. If, who the hell are we, to judge them? I look what before, in the Attitude Era, look what they did to the women. But they did it. They were making money, they weren't, whatever. How many of us are really going to walk away from a job that we know is paying us, this money for the uncertainty? Most of these guys are married, and have kids, whatever. So, but you can't assume that because they have the lineage or, you know, even the talent that they're going to have the same success as Cody. I mean, Cody really went out there and worked it on his own.
Mm. Oh, no, I agree with that. You have to work for it when you go into the indies, but, you know, that's, you know, I'm just saying purely on a WWE level where there's a lot of guys that are just kind of sitting there taking a paycheck. Even the younger guys, you know, are kind of just sitting there taking a paycheck. And the irony about it is that, you know, contrary to what a lot of people believe, certain wrestlers, you know, Sasha Banks, I think Roman Reigns said it, a few others have said it, where, contrary to popular belief, Vince actually likes the guys that are more aggressive, are more, you know, determined and are saying, hey, I don't like where I am in the company right now. I want to be higher. Make me higher.
But we also don't know that they aren't. I mean, look at the New Day. They would give
exactly that's showing
they had to push it. It took them, you know, a while. We don't know what we're not there. We don't know what these people, you know, are saying. We don't know that Heath Slade is not like, hey, listen, you know, I've been here for years now. I've never been in trouble. I've never done this. I've never done that. You know, come on. I deserve better. I have the talent. I get the fan base. Yeah. You know, but we don't really know. I mean, the fans assume a lot. Brendan, the fans assume a lot.
Yeah. But the New Day is the primary example where they basically said, hey, we have an idea. Let's run with it. Let's see how it works. And we want to do this. We can make it work. And Vince actually listened, let them run with it, and look at how successful it's been.
Right. But doesn't mean, you know, but my point is, it took them a while. You know, it wasn't just once that they walked into his office and were like, hey, like, you know, listen, let's do it this way. You know, it took them a while, but you know, my point stands. We don't know what anybody back there, you know, is saying.
Oh no, I understand that.
We don't know how much, you know, that they're pushing, you know, but you cannot blame any of these men or the women for, you know, sticking with the status quo right now, hoping that they get a better, you know, position for a pretty much guaranteed paycheck. Plus, you know, they do work more on the house shows because some of the bigger guys don't even, like Randy and a few others, they don't go to all the, I think AJ's might be actually one of the few exceptions, don't go to all the house shows. So they are, you know, out, you know, so it's 6 of one, half a dozen.
I mean, the fans really that, but I'm just hoping that this whole thing does actually get Drew a push and does basically make him what he was originally supposed to be when he was in WWE originally, the chosen one.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm definitely behind that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So we finally get to the main event scheduled for One Fall.
One Fall.
We see Seth Rollins defending his WWE Intercontinental Championship against Finn Balor. And we get a pretty darn good match. With a lot of near falls. A lot of really tense moments. A lot of really hopeful moments. But while I'll say, you know, I love Seth Rollins just as much as anyone else, but, you know, I would have liked to have seen Finn win here and make that match a triple threat.
Yeah. You know me and my triple, quadruple, septuple, you know, whatever matches there.
That would have been the other reason why I would have loved to have seen it happen.
I can agree that I would have liked to see, you know, Finn win here and make it I can't believe I'm saying it, make it a triple threat.
You know how much I would have been, you know what I would have been saying right here if he had won. I would have been like, you know what we're getting now.
I can't even say the word properly. You know,
It's triple. Say it with me.
Yeah.
Triple
threat.
threat.
But I do think ultimately Finn will be the one that he drops it to. I'm hoping anyway.
I'm hoping too, but the only thing that I'm worried about, and maybe this is just me, looking at it in a purely objective and purely, logical way, but this was a clean win.
You know, it was.
Where do you go from here? Even if Seth, if Seth wins, I'm assuming, unless, who is, do we know who Jeff Hardy is facing at Backlash yet?
I don't think so. I'll probably find out tomorrow.
So I'm assuming it's a SmackDown person then.
I think so.
So then we're assuming that Seth is going to retain this because, unless they want to completely bury Raw, which we all know Vince McMahon will never do, there's no way the Intercontinental Championship is moving over to SmackDown. But, assuming Seth wins, where do they go from here? Like, how do they make a rematch for this match?
Well, they've been doing it with Brock and Roman for years, so I'm sure they'll think of something.
See, there's at least with that, and the explanation for this didn't fully make sense, but at least it made a bit of sense. At least with that, there's a controversy behind it.
Which we called last week. We said that something stupid would happen.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
They did not disappoint us.
You're absolutely right there. I'll give you that. But I don't fully know where they can go from here to get another rematch, because this was a clean win.
Yeah, if he's not, it's the only thing I can think of is that Rollins, Miz is interrupted by Finn on, at Backlash.
The only way that I see that working, though, which, with the way he handled himself tonight, could actually happen. But the only way that I could see that happening is if they're trying to create a Balor heel turn.
I think they've been hinting at that for a while. So
the only thing about that, unless, oh God, I know I'm gonna jinx myself already for saying this. Unless they're gonna trade Gallows and Anderson for the damn Miztourage and make them become the new Balor Club. That's the only way that I could see a Balor heel turn working. Is if they actually have... Because, how else are they gonna have Balor be a legitimate threat, as a heel without a faction? That's just the best way he works as a heel.
Just as much skills for it. But yeah, that's a really good point. But I can't see the two of them as being a part of the Balor Club without a complete and utter makeover.
No.
The two, they'd have to drop the whole comedic, aspect of them. I don't know. I don't know where they're gonna go from there. But I'd hate to see Finn pushed, down to the bottom.
Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting to see where they go from here with this. But like I said, I don't know where they can go from here with this whole feud. Because I agree with you. I think Balor should be the one to take it off of Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
He's beyond due for a title.
Oh yeah, so beyond. Now Backlash is this Sunday?
Yes. Yes, I know it's a really quick turnaround. I know.
Yeah, I can't even, do we even know what the Raw matches are?
Well, I was about to go to that. I was going to do some predictions. Moving forward. We know everything except for U.S. title, which maybe we'll find out tomorrow. Raw and SmackDown tag titles, which, at least with the SmackDown, I'm assuming it'll just be a rematch because that ended in a double... Or, wait, did that end in a double count? I want to say yes, but I forget. Or did it end in a clean win?
Where, the GR?
Yeah.
It was a clean win, I believe.
Okay, so, yeah. Unless my idea holds true and Usos say, hey, we didn't have our secret weapon out there because we couldn't. But, but those two matches and then the Cruiserweight title. So the only the only match that is a Raw one that we don't know yet is a Raw tag team match. Which I don't even know I don't even really know if they have any real contenders for that right now. So I don't even know if that'll be on the card.
Right.
So let's give a grade for this show real quick, and then we'll go through the matches for Sunday.
I actually enjoyed Raw this week. I'm usually when they have like so many segments, even quick ones, they're kind of sucky. But tonight's were all pretty solid in my opinion. So I'm going to give it a nice 7.
Okay. I'm going to give it a little less. I'm going to give it a 6.5. It was a solid show, but nothing really too crazy.
Right.
What's your one-word review?
One-word review. Satisfactory.
Satisfactory. I'm gonna say very simply meh. Meh. It moved things along, but nothing really to write home about. Okay, so let's go into the preview for Backlash. First match is Nia Jax versus Alexa for the Women's Championship.
Nia.
Oh, yes, I agree. Nia definitely for that. Seth versus Miz for Intercontinental Championship.
If Finn doesn't close a disqualification, then Seth.
I agree. Seth is going to retain one way or another because, Raw needs a title.
Right.
And then I guess we'll count this as Raw. Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe.
The Samoan Joe versus Samoan Joe.
Precisely.
Oh, God, I don't know. I'm just, you know what? I'm going to go all out and say that they beat the crap out of each other and end up in a bloody mess to a no contest.
This is really going to determine what a lot of people have been speculating about in terms of whether or not Roman is starting to lose his favor. I don't think he has quite yet, especially since they actually mentioned the controversy on Raw tonight, and he said that he is the Universal Champion. Reigns wins, and this ends up continuing his push towards Reigns versus Lesnar number 4 at SummerSlam, and that is where we get Reigns finally winning.
Okay.
Not a fan?
I don't hate Roman. Ironically, I hated him when he first started. I hated the whole Shield. It's just
that's kind of funny because I kind of went in the middle where, like, I liked him in the Shield. I didn't like him when he first started out as a singles competitor. But ever since the Braun feud, and he's gotten better, I've liked him.
Yeah. So I don't hate him. I have to be honest with you, I don't even really hate Lesnar. I mean, I'm tired of the part-time championship thing, but whatever.
That's my main issue there.
So it's like, okay, stop dragging it out.
I'm fine with Lesnar as, like, a special attraction as long as you keep him away from a title.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't care who you give the title to, just, give it to somebody else and give us a break from Brock.
Yeah.
And stop dragging it out.
Yeah, really. Let's move on already, please. I think that'll just about wrap it up. Anything else?
No, can't think of a thing.
Okay, well, that is our Raw review for April 30th. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night for the SmackDown review of May 1st, where we will review SmackDown Live. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night. For Liz Pugliese, I'm Brandon Biskobing, signing off and saying good night, everyone.